Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the finale episode of The Interest of Love. I already posted episode 15, you can check that out on my channel. And as I was watching episode 16, I suddenly realized that if you hadn't watched the show from episode 1 all the way to episode 15, you could watch episode 16 and you wouldn't have missed a thing. You would have been all caught up. And so, because this episode doesn't really have much of a storyline, it's kind of like grasping for as little bit of a plot as possible, I feel like I should talk about the characters a little bit more, and then we can also tie off some loose ends. So, without talking too much, let's get right into it. So 4 years have passed, and as expected, Sang-soo was ghosted once again by Miss Anne. That is no surprise there, there's no need to be shocked. We all kind of saw this coming. And in my previous review, I spoke about her and why I think she did what she did. And I kind of gave different excuses or explanations for her actions. And I was hoping that in the finale, they would have been more forthcoming with an explanation as to why she decided to ghost him. But then I remembered that we are watching a slice of life drama and we are watching something that's very common in the real world: ghosting, relationships, love, heartbreak. And it made me remember that I've also been ghosted before, and people that ghost you don't really have an explanation. They don't really have an answer for you, and they are unable to really explain or justify why they did something as hurtful as ghosting. And it doesn't matter how long you wait, you'll never get a rational answer. And so the finale has made me look at Miss Anne as a real life person instead of just a character. Because once I begin to see her like a real life person, I realize that not everyone will give you closure and not everyone will give you an answer that you're looking for. And once I was able to put her in that position in my mind, I decided to stop focusing on her and focus on Sang-soo. Sang-soo for me is an every person. He is most of us, or some of us. He's the kind of person that falls in love deeply and gets attached to someone. And I was also looking at the fact that they are not in high school or university. They are no longer at the age or time in life where you get to meet different kinds of people every single day and you have more options to date. Your options are more limited the older that you get. Not to mention the fact that office romances are not really encouraged. And then I decided to look at it from a more realistic point of view, and I saw it to be that a 30-something-year-old man who probably hasn't had a serious relationship or even a fling since he was in his early to mid-20s, and then he meets a girl, she makes his heart flutter, he falls in infatuation slash obsession slash love, because just because he's a good guy or he's portrayed to be a good guy doesn't mean that he's not susceptible to feeling. And so he grows attached to a woman who he finds beautiful and charming and kind. And without getting the opportunity to meet other people around him, he is unable to move on. And to me, that is very real. Although it is very realistic that you can fall in love with someone who just stays on your mind and it's hard to move on, I think that they did not give him a backbone even though 4 years passed. And they kind of made him a stagnant character. He did not really grow or evolve. And I wish that when he met her again after 4 years, he was more self-assured. He was less into trying to please her or trying to get into a relationship with her. I wish that he was able to show that he had moved on, and even though they did have memories together, that chapter or that book that they both had between themselves was completely closed and never to be opened again. At the end of the day, I do think he's a great guy, and I don't think that he should be or try to be in a relationship with someone who has consistently shown him that they will ghost him and that they will not show up for him when he needs it. Someone who constantly breaks promises. And although he did things like go on blind dates, he still moped around, he still thought about her a lot, he still made conscious efforts trying to find her and reconnect with her. And again, if this was a different type of drama, her character would be framed as the very bad ex who we should not like and who definitely missed out on a great thing with a great person, and he would be framed as our main character who was finally able to move on after many years. All in all, I don't want his character to be the kind of person who is never able to move on. But the writers present the final episode as them being star-crossed lovers, and he just needs to put in more effort, more than he's already been doing before. And at the very end, when they're doing the various montages and it's just a recollection of all their memories together, both characters say a lot of what ifs. And two things can be true at once, because I do believe that he kind of messed things up when he decided to date Miss Park. And him dating another woman, especially someone in the office, because he shouldn't have gotten another person involved when he knew that his emotions were very strong. However, it can also be true that he did put a lot of effort into being with Miss Anne, and he has consistently been reaching out to her, to connect with her, to be with her. And I just don't like the way the end was framed, as though he didn't try enough, and that if he had done more, they probably would have been together. So speaking of Miss Park, she does come back this episode. I really thought she was done from episode 15, but I'm glad to see her again. I'm also glad that she's in a happy relationship and she could possibly get engaged, and she was also able to rekindle her friendship with Miss Anne. I'm just curious if they really will be able to be friends after all that has gone on between them, the history, the relationships, the heartbreaks. But maybe it will work out, because Anne seems to be comfortable with female friendships. She's not really good with male relationships, so maybe it might work out. Next, I want to talk about everybody's favorite police officer. He finally became a police officer. Congratulations to him. It feels like a satisfying conclusion to his story and his arc. Although he did kind of disappear in the last couple of episodes, they sprinkled him in and out. And I don't really have much to say about him. There's not much to go off on. The only thing I didn't really like was the fact that he saluted her, because they both promised each other that when he becomes a police officer, he will salute her. I am not going to salute an ex who cheated on me just because I promised to salute them when I finally become a police officer. I don't think she deserved it from him, maybe someone else, but I guess they wanted to make her seem more likable and to make him seem likable as well, because he was able to move on and forgive her. But good for him in attaining his dreams. I hope he meets someone new and has a wonderful relationship. And finally, I saved the best or the worst for last. I feel like I've already said so much on Anne and her character and her motivations in my previous video and this video as well. So the only thing I will talk about is that tiny bit of me feels as though the writers are trying to tell us Anne is not happy, and she probably never will be happy, and she's the person holding her future in her own hands, and she probably regrets the way that she behaved with Sang-soo. And I say this because her business, her cafe painting business, is called Future Happiness. That seems to me that she has not achieved said happiness. It's in the future, but she has not reached it yet. But my point being is, she probably still isn't happy, and she may never be happy because maybe her character is just written that way. Another thing that I noticed was when we went into her cafe for the first time, all her paintings on the wall were only memories that she had with Sang-soo. That tells me that he did make a huge impact on her life. She probably did fall in love with him. She probably does still have a strong connection with him, but she will not allow herself to create anything meaningful with him, meaning that she stands in the way of her own happiness. She refuses to open up, and she bottles things so much that she only expresses it in paintings. So although they had that moment when they were walking up the hill of oblivion, and the ending was supposed to be left for your interpretation, my final interpretation is quite simple. She is not someone who will prove or change or suddenly realize what she's been missing one day. She is probably a solitary person. And although she may love or fall in love or like someone strongly, she may be someone who also self-sabotages. And even though she might enjoy the time that she spends with Sang-soo, it doesn't mean that she wants to explore that further. And I saw people mentioning how her smile got more irritating as the episode continued. And I think her smile is to signify that she has finally accepted her fate. She has finally decided to embrace the fact that she wants to be solitary. And even though it may not be socially acceptable or popular, it seems like it's a decision that suits her and her lifestyle. So in conclusion, she is a flawed character. You either take her as she is, or you spend your entire life chasing after her and trying to understand her, or you can take control of your life, focus on your goals and your happiness, and maybe you will achieve them. But it doesn't mean that you have to pine after her, because you may be searching for her, but she will always search for herself and choose herself. These characters are flawed, messy, annoying at times, and even uncomfortable. And I think the reason why so many people, including myself, had such harsh reactions towards the story and the characters, but still kept watching, is because of how real and grounded in reality events seem to be. It almost feels like it can happen to anyone. And for a lot of people, these stories are not just stories, they are experiences that have been lived and have left behind scars and memories. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. Was the pacing of the final episode too slow? Was the ending how you expected it? What do you think of the characters? And everything in between. Again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in my next video.